like team captain Niall Healy, today going, would you believe, for his 9th All-Ireland medal. He and others are a product of St Bridget's Vocational School, and that's a hurling nursery in Loughrea.
In the past decade, we have won 9 All-Irelands, 6 senior and 3 junior. And this year, we have 5 on the panel. There are 3 playing. Niall Healy is the captain, Donald Riley and Dermot Ryan. And we have our sub-goalie Mark Herlihy and Michael Broderick as well. So we have made a major contribution to Galway hurling, particularly in the past decade. It's been very successful for us.
As principal of the school, I'm proud of the tradition of hurling in the school. In the last few years that we've been producing many players for the senior, under 21 and the minor, and the things that, and we continue to do it. We've won 4 senior titles in a row, and we hope to get a 5th one this year.
We have in this school here in St Bridget's Vocational School, we've achieved a lot of All-Ireland glory, and this is a breeding ground for great hurling success, and this is mainly where we played hurling up through the years.
Niall, already you have a box full of All-Ireland medals, but I'm sure the one on Sunday is the one you'd like to add to that collection.
Yeah, Michael, we've won, I think it's 8 All-Irelands I was in the school now, and they were all very nice to win, but Sunday's the one I really wanted since I was 9 or 10. It's always been the one I wanted.
Obviously, as you know very well though, you're up against a tough opposition on Sunday.
Kilkenny haven't played that well yet, but they've still been doing enough to win the matches. Like, they didn't look good against Cork at all, but still never looked like getting beaten, and it's going to be awful tough on Sunday. Hopefully we can beat them.
OK, then we're looking at the minor matters here and the vocational schools. We'll talk a bit about the influence of the vocational schools in a moment. Actually, Ger Canning, you were pointing out something that comes up in the match programme today that's interesting about the minor game.
Yeah, I was just looking there 10 years ago, the Kilkenny and Galway met in the All-Ireland minor final. Now these are 28-year-olds now.
Yes.
Right? There isn't one. The Kilkenny won by 5 points. There isn't one of the Kilkenny players who played that day on the Kilkenny panel today.
Yeah.
Now look at of Galway names that are still central to Galway hurling. Kevin Broderick was in goals that day. Ollie Canning, Greg Kennedy, Cathal Moore, Ollie Fahy, Fergal Healy, all of those still playing for Galway. It just shows you the strength of Kilkenny teams.
Absolutely.
A team that wins an All-Ireland minor, wins it by 5 points. Now you think that they'd be there, there'd be some of them there for the next 10 years for the county.
Against what was clearly a good Galway.
Against what was a really, really good Galway. It just shows you the strength of Kilkenny. And even though they have great players playing here today, chances are today is the last day that maybe 10 or 12 of them will ever play in Croke Park.
I know, extraordinary.
You know, it's amazing. It's an amazing.
It's a different kettle of fish, obviously, in counties like Offaly, your own county, Galway to some degree as well. But the point about what I was saying a moment ago about the vocational schools and schools, I suppose, generally in that, in its contribution to hurling.
Yeah, I think it's hugely important, and it's probably dying away. If you take Offaly, for example, Banner Vocational School, Burke Community School, like, they were producing all the players that played for Offaly over the last 20 years, either more or less went to one or other of those schools. And you know, hurling is really struggling in both of those schools now, and it's the same in Galway. You know, a lot of the schools now aren't producing, and players aren't staying on. And I don't know, you know, I think that's the area people talk about hurling maybe at senior level, you know, maybe not being as strong, but if you don't start at 12, 13, 14, there's no point trying to get a lad at 18 or 19 trying to make a hurler out of them. So I think that's where the investment has to go into coaching, is in schools. And I think, you know, it's well documented about teachers maybe not being as involved as they were and all that sort of stuff. So it's important to get the coaches in there and get the right people in, or else the game is going to die, you know, between 12 and 16 years of age.
12 and 16 is important. Even before that, obviously, Sherlock Nan is important as well. Now, you're a national school teacher, so you know exactly what Michael Dykeman is talking about.
What Michael is saying is that's the area, and we're on this new committee to try and develop hurling. And that is the area we really have to concentrate on, because that is where the real cultural change has taken place. You know, the amount of teachers now of whatever sex are prepared to take out children after school is dwindling the whole time. So we've adopted a new policy now, bringing in coaches into the schools, starting at even a younger level than secondary school.
Yeah.
But I think that whatever ways the secondary school, at national, real fall off is in secondary school, and we have to concentrate, putting coaches in there, publicise the game, encourage young people in there to play the games, to keep the standard up to the kind of standard we have now.
And I think look after them, you know. If you take the success of Laois footballers, for example, in the minor footballers, I know from people over in Laois at an under 14 level, they have developmental teams, development teams. They get a bit of gear, you know, t-shirts, tracksuits. It makes an awful difference.
And they
to young
really
fellas.
appreciate
gear
that.
badge,
Young lads really appreciate that.
And whereas maybe in my own county in Offaly, there has been very little done for youngsters over the last 10 or 12 years, and we're paying the price now.
Yeah,
you know, so it's very important. A young fella, 13 or 14, you know, there's other sports, there's other things going on in his life. And so look after him, make him feel important, get them into a squad, get them training together. I know Kilkenny have 3 under 14 teams, for an example. So there's what, 320, 60 lads at that level, training together, playing together, getting a bit of gear, and keeping them just interested in hurling, not playing other sports.
Because that's the whole point. Other codes are understanding the potential out there.
Right. You learn from the teams that are at the top. Learn from the like of Kilkenny. A few years ago, they wrote to 36, something like that, former players, and asked them if they would give 1 or 2 days a week to train these development squads that they have in Kilkenny. They got a massive reply. Now, if you play Kilkenny at under 14s, 15, 16 or 17, you see the standard they have. The standard has really, really improved, and that's why they're here every year almost in minor. They're in under 21 All-Ireland final, and that's why they have a good senior team as well. So learn from the best, copy the best, and then you will match the best. That's the whole thing. That's what you have to do. You can't be complaining about Kilkenny or saying they have advantages. You have to get out there, watch what they're doing, match it, and if you do match it, you'll be able to match it when it comes onto the field later on.
We saw Jim Wall, who's the vice president in Loughrea there in the vocational school Loughrea, in the interview. Also Michael Bond, of course, who you know very well, who's the principal down there. Yeah,
Michael Bond, one of the great gentlemen, I think. Apart from winning the All-Ireland when he took over, but it was a privilege just to know the man. And I think if there was more people like Michael Bond involved in hurling at underage level, you'd see him. You know, he's a brilliant man. He's a passion for the game, and the real strength of him and all good hurling managers or coaches, as far as I'm concerned, is the simple. He concentrates on the simple things. I heard a Cork player saying Donald already went back, and he was doing the most basic skills of them, and they were kind of looking at him originally and saying, what's he on about? But when they got into it, and next thing they saw that our skills aren't that good, and there's only 4 or 5 basic skills in hurling that you need to practice and practice and practice. And what Donald O'Grady has done is brought the basics back into Cork hurling. Brian Cody would do it naturally in Kilkenny, and that's what Michael Bond's great strength was as a manager.
And a lot of the players on this particular team, as we've been making the point here over the last few minutes, have come through that vocational school system in Loughrea and others as well. Matty Murphy is the manager of this Galway team, Ger, manager of the senior team a few years ago as well, and he and his backroom team, we were talking about backroom teams earlier on, done a big job with these lads.
Well, Matty has a brilliant record, especially at underage with Galway. He has 2 All-Irelands already won with them, and he's brought his team here, I suppose against the odds, into the All-Ireland final. Now, they were kind of touted early on as being having a decent team because they have so many last year's team that was just barely beaten by Kilkenny in the All-Ireland. But for people who just watched the Galway full forward line, Donal Riley, Angus Canlan and Niall Healy, absolutely lethal. They are to minor hurling what the Kilkenny full forward line are to senior. Canlan has already scored 3-8 from play. Riley has already scored 4-3. Niall Healy scored 10 points the last day in the semi-final. They are a lethal full forward line. And how Kilkenny full back line comes to those will be the outcome to this. Will be central to the outcome. Now a huge question mark hanging over Kilkenny's best player, who's John Tennyson, who was full back last year. He had appendix out only 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's really struggling to be fit, and we don't yet know actually if he's going to play in the game. If he's not playing, Kilkenny will be in trouble here.
Kilkenny will be out in a second. I gather that Tennyson will actually start the match today for them. We'll have to wait and see how he's going. Kilkenny will be out in a minute. Just a final word on the Galway team and on Niall Healy, again being down in Loughrea during the week. They've had a lot of good players, and some of them you've listed from the minor team of 10 years ago there, and others in between come from that area. They reckon Healy is the best potential that they've seen for quite a while. Yeah,
he looks to be the best minor hurler that we've seen for a long time. You know, he's exceptionally talented, both sides, very fast, good team player as well, you know, throwing the ball around, and he looks to have it all. But like Kilkenny have Richie Power there doing the same thing for them, exceptional player as well. And the last day we really we maybe went overboard on the strengths of the Kilkenny team. They're a super team, but they didn't play with any great flair on the day. They just kind of went through the motions, did what they had to do, and just came through it in the end. Whereas Galway played with great panache and style against Tipperary. Now Tipperary scored a massive score down the other end, but Galway always looked like they were going to score more, and it was a great open game between Tip and Galway. Whereas the Cork Kilkenny game was dour and big physical, so it was more like maybe a senior match, you know, the big strong men. But if they can open up and play with a bit more a bit more style and flair, which obviously they have in the team, I think it'd be a great game. But Galway have been written off, but I think this Galway team are going to rack up the scores with that full forward line as Jersey. Exceptionally talented full forward line. So, you know, I think it'd be a great curtain raiser. A lot of people are coming in to see it.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. One thing about minor matches though is a lot depends on how young lads kind of sleep the night before.
That's
You
right.
spend the night kind of staring at the ceiling or the patterns in the wallpaper and stuff like that. You know.
That's a big thing with minor life, Michael. But the only thing is, a lot of them have been here before. A lot of them have been here last year. There was a great minor final here last year. Saved, Kilkenny was saved really by a catch by John Tennyson in the very last minute of the game, right underneath the crossbar. That's why he's so important. But watch out as well for Chaffey's party today. He was injured coming into the game the last day. He just barely made it. He didn't play that well. He's back in full form again. Two great sets of forwards, which we all like to see in hurling.
Sure.
That's what we have here today. So that it could make for a high-scoring, really good game.
Well, the conditions, as we said, are certainly ideal from that point of view. I mean, it's beautiful. Actually, you were making the point to me that normally, because the All-Ireland is a little bit earlier, first weekend in September, if it had been on that particular, it was a terrible weekend.
If you take last Sunday, last Sunday was the most miserable day of the year. Here we are, it's gone on later. People always say, bring it on early, the chances are finer weather.
Better weather.
Here we are, the second Sunday of September, one of the best days of the year. Ideal for hurling. It's perfect. Isn't it a brilliant thrill for all those young lads to be down there today in that pitch in front of that crowd? It's a day they'll remember forever, and hopefully they'll give us a game that we'll all remember as well.
And here are some of the people, Ger, arriving to Croke Park, as we said, still a few minutes to go, quite a few minutes, nearly 20 minutes before the minor match. But people do like to get here early, and especially, I suppose, as we said, when the weather is nice, then they like to soak in the atmosphere and the occasion. And particularly, again, Michael, in this new Croke Park, it seems to bring people down Jones's Road earlier because they want to come to this fantastic stadium.
It is. It's a great facility now. You can come in and you know, if you want to get a bite to eat or get have a drink or just relax in your seat, it's comfortable and it's top class facility. You know, years ago, like, the facilities weren't great here, but I always laugh when I see the crowd coming in. They're so relaxed and all nice to each other. And once the game starts,
I know,
the calmest of people lose all reason. Like, I was beside a fella at the Lee Shoffley football match. He's a very good friend of mine, and I thought it's a very quiet, normal fella. And he went absolutely ballistic during the match.
Especially if he gets tight.
Especially if he gets tight, but it's gas to see it.
Paddy O'Shea knows all about that.
He sure does. And you see, another thing to watch out as well, man, is the sons of famous fathers that play in the minor game. You know, you've Donncha Cody there, Brian. Huge day for the Cody family now. Brian, being manager of the senior team, Donncha playing in the minor. Dave Prendergast, Paddy Prendergast's son. You have Fennelly there. You have Richie Power's son. You know, and on the other team, there's a very curious fella that didn't play the last day, Niall Coleman, who was Matty's, who was a great Galway footballer.
That's right.
His son is playing today, probably at midfield in the Galway minor team. So all of these things are great to watch out. And I was just looking over a programme the other night of 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when Kilkenny played in the semi-final, Tommy Welsh was playing and Conor Phelan. Now that's only 2 years ago, very short. Now they're playing. Setanto Halpine and John Garner played in the All-Ireland final just 2 years ago on the minor. So just to tell you how young the players are coming on to the senior team. So in a very short time, we'll say that like a Richie Power, maybe a lot of others here that we don't know about yet, will be maybe playing in a senior semi-final here in the championship.
Sure. Well, at the moment, Ger, today is their day in the minor. The Kilkenny team have arrived out. There's normally a 2-minute gap between the first and second team coming out. Galway seem to have been out for quite a while before Kilkenny have actually shown, but they're pretty much on time. Maybe Galway just came out that little bit earlier. Anyway, both teams on the field at this stage, I think. It might be no harm if we hand it over to our commentary team for the minor game for the afternoon, and let's hear a few words from them. Marty Morrissey's in the commentary box. So too, Micheál O'Shea.
Gurmachad Michael agus Tamid Fiechandutsa Irin Kilkenny agus Shietsa Round the Kotiantuchta. Agus cúpla ahrú bhidin ón ládernach agus tucamid chuigisin baul an lá go hálan fad chunamánaíochta. Cúigháta agus fithe fad a bhfuil Kilkennig agus an ghaileh le chéile godísa 7 módíag ag Kilkennig 8 ag ghaileh ach teisio an cúigiú báta go bhla le chéile ag gluhí canis agus siad sufad in na gailínis agus cedabhua godísa ag Kilkennig tné Angus Callanan an son agus Shahid Anidin Inish agus Keenship go bhfuil ahrú a bháin an son a meas na gosan tóidí Dermot Ryan ag Gimertinúh Dimmer sé siúd an ag éintrim a hána sé stechan an daí an lá dernach agus ag Gimmert in áit Michael Donnellan náfuil Gimmert chuige an chuidéile mar a chéile Gur mehan John Lee gur bhenach luige Láslí Cian Bork agus Damien Kellyach ní marsin hasnó siad a lápáitge Stólan go ben Niall Coleman a raig amach go lápáitge mar a bhfuil Cian Bork agus Kinchevitson Niall Coleman ahrú a meas na dusathe in áit Martin Ester mar a bhí Jorlach na rá mac le Matty agus dar nó Michael óncail Amáni, Star Amáni a bhí ag Gimmert leis an ghaileh chomá 8 a bhí Matty ag Gimmert an aigá lí agus Niall Healy an captain istig sa chuine an son sníad chuirin na Galway agus be siad a déarag buchtan ar Kilkenny gluthe canis don giadúil. Agus siadsa Kilkenny agus dála na Galway tá cúpla ahrú an bhuidansa chomá agus seachuid ina siad well, ní ahrú dáidí a bheith John Tennyson a reis téis appendix as a lína lán chúil a láslí donna chu códaí me héad na láimh diise agus Peter O'Donovan aharathe go taobh na láimh clé ó nádernach mar athá John Dalton aharathe le Shane Cadigan an bheirt chéanna a lápáirce chu Pat Hartley agus Michael Fennelly Michael ó Bhaile Héal agus tusathe anna chumas a chuir fad agus Hínsib go bhfuil Owen McGrath fear a bhí gostathe tacathe ar a báid go ná David McCormack i meas na dusathe agus istigh sa chuoine an san tá Maras Nolan san áit ina réháil an ládernach agus an bhirteile mar a chéile Jeff Fitzpatrick agus Owen Guinan sníad chuirin Kilkenny agus sné an Bainisteoid an brother Damien Brennan Bainisteoid Kilkenny agus mar a bhís rá Kilkenny Edhoid an sné Matty Murphy an son Bainisteoid na Galway snéad a dá Bainisteoid a bheith ga dheachant le chéile agus taí ag Matty a bheith Bainisteoideach an bhaidan hínsir chomá an lá go hálinn ar fad agus slú anna bhrá ar fad a bailúisteach na síáin ar fad díalta.
Number 25, Kevin Gibney, and number 26.
Now, before we get into the action in this afternoon's All-Ireland Minor Hurling Final, we have a commercial break. Coming up right after that, it's Galway versus Kilkenny. Minor hurling final between Galway and Kilkenny, and a fantastic scene, as we said before, I know, but we'll repeat it once again. A fantastic scene here at Croke Park for the 2 All-Ireland finals day. Final words of wisdom for the Kilkenny Minors. Sounds like the guy in the ad. I'd say.
Like when the Luke says more than
32%. Where's Michael Dyken? It's 17 years ago. You were here with the minor team for Offaly.
Michael, you're giving away my age now. I'm trying to pretend I'm a bit young. Yeah, 1986, we won the first ever minor for Offaly, and it was a brilliant now for us, you know, at the time. We never won a Leinster minor before that. Right, and we won the Leinster Monday All-Ireland in the 1 year. And Dahi Regan got a goal in the last minute. We looked beaten against Cork, 2 points down, and Big Dahi, which he did many times for Offaly, came up trumps. And Declan Pilkin was the other star that day, scored 2-3 from play.
That's right.
And the interest there, Declan wasn't that, he was a very good hurler at that time, but hadn't been playing, you know, he was only 17, you know, coming into the first final, hadn't been that touted. There was a few other players been talked about a bit more, and he came along then and won the game for Offaly that day. And something like that could happen today. All the talk is about Niall Healy or Richie Power. Someone else could come up trumps, but it's brilliant for a young fella, and as long as it doesn't pass you by. I think it passed maybe some of the team by that time, and you don't get a second chance.
Well, in fairness, most of you did get a second chance at a higher level again.
Yeah, well, that's true, that's true.
And a third.
and a few chances maybe you weren't entitled to along the way as well.
I knew this would come up. It always comes up. I'm not making any comment about that. I'm sorry.
Once again, to everybody in Clare.
Exactly.
And there's a gentleman beside you, always be very careful.
Well, as long as you're beside me, I have some chance. Behind me now would be different.
Just picking out one or two of the players and personalities, I suppose, in the teams. Micheál O'Shea was mentioning in the commentary there, Niall Coleman, whose father was Matty, who played football for Galway, and of course Michael was on the Galway hurling team. They come from Abinock Moy, which is on that hurling football boundary, I suppose, in Galway. You actually played hurling, did you, or train with Matty Coleman?
Matty used to come down. He was based in Ennis for a while, and he used to train with the Clare senior hurling team when he was there. And Matty was a fitness fanatic. He was one of the most dedicated people I've ever seen. And when he used to come training with us, his hurling was limited enough now, even though he did play hurling. We used to all dread marking him, because if he hit you a shoulder, it'd actually go through. You'd be afraid that your stomach was going to go through your back. He was that tough, really tough. So I'll tell you, this guy here, if he's related, if Matty's son and Michael's nephew, I wouldn't like to be marking him either after him today if he's taken for that. But it's going to be a great battle today between the 2 forward lines. You know, it's great. I think in minor, it's great to see 2 classy forward lines. You always make up for backs, two really classy forward lines, and whichever defence copes best with the opposing forward line, that's the team that will win today. And John Tennyson holding up for Kilkenny will be absolutely vital.
Well, we hope, gentlemen, that this game doesn't let us down, because we certainly have built it up well enough anyway over the last hour or so here on the programme. OK, that's all the words from the panel for the moment then. Analysis at half-time, of course. But for right now, let's go back again to Marty Morrissey and first Micheál O'Shea.
Gurmahagib, agus Tommy de Fiechant, a Lord Portke, Dermot Kerwin on Raytowid, or Walish Ganach, or Ivali, Nahoni, Gorkig, a Lord Nahuidi, agus Tahiva, Egashud, Edagurum, Law on the Vogus Fad, Win Valla, Hun, Amanicht, agus Marty Morrissey, and Akulum and so.
Micheál, certainly this is one of those rare All-Ireland minor finals that I'm certainly looking forward to. These two teams are very evenly balanced. The fact that Kilkenny have already won the two All-Ireland colleges with St. Kieran's and Castlecomer, the fact that you have some great names, as already mentioned in our little preview there, with John Tennyson suffering from an appendix operation a few weeks ago, back in training this week. And when you have Richie Power and Chaff Fitzpatrick and Fennelly, and of course Donica Cody in Kilkenny, you have a very strong outfit. In Galway, well, names like Niall Callanan, Angus Callanan, Niall Healy, Donald Riley, these are the players that we'll be watching out for. And the fact that Niall Coleman, son of Matty Coleman, is playing this afternoon. I do expect one switch, Micheál. That is that Niall Coleman will play at centre field. Cian Burke will probably go to the half-forward line.
Sinead, agus an Carstagut, Lord Portke has no Niall a Dursterlin, agus Cian's na Letas a hip, agus Nenson agus Eirlof from an Loch Escoil, agus an Tuachtaran, a Tachtamach and so, an Tuachtaran, Sean O'Callig, agus Evans, Junior. Agus Eirlof from an Loch Escoil, and Dr. Diarmid O'Clough, or Dasport, Cashel, agus Imla. Agus Eirlof, Diarmid O'Clough, or Dasport, Cashel, agus Imilig, agus either T. Tachtamach, agus Baidig, Godshoe. Nord de Cayman or down the O'Goin and so, Chasing the guide him when Law on the Soul, a wind as some law untersa, a bark of Roby.
There's an interesting perspective here as well, Micheál, on the Galway side. 1973, Galway were bidding for their first All-Ireland title, and on that team was Sylvie Lenan. In 2003, Ty Glenan is on the Galway team facing Kilkenny. And in 1983, Galway won their first All-Ireland minor. And on that team was Joe Cooney, John Cummins, Jerry McInerney, Pat Malone, Sean Tracy, all went on to establish themselves at senior level. Can it be 2003?
Agus dar nócho Mailena ahead. Sylvie is imero rugide hen, it immer shele for in the heren fe hoch be na diag, vi she an Alban agus a roif loho, o hobble skull, hortinche gwede, agus shahid, within the Galeen so, go will meet a fiechentura, or sheen hen, agus Nenson, Niall Coleman, maar be mit Rolly Vocheniv is Casul gur Lord Portke, agus an Brahar Damien, Edda Deville, and then a Console, Richie Power. Of way crave na heren on the rig, agus le cloiste hieroin im Lena, agus maravi mir ra, hom le cloiste hieroin, agus Cushlan home, the way crave be, guide him scullen in the galley, dienta casu, the gahabnam Leon, agus shin a fide, and Sahara. Matty Murphy and Bannistow, agus Michael Fogarty, a Caurula shin, and Lord Parkinson, Damien Kelly, go will meet a fiachented. An is siúd de stachar bát gan rig an Kilkenny agus Horpaí ach johe an tríiseach Bertie Hearn agus an Portstúr Hoir Liam O'Mail Vihil agus a Van Moide. Mr. Bertie Hearn atá Kilkenny ag Portstúr or Common Lucas Fail Liam O'Mail agus a Van Fail Moire. And it's Carol Mancucci.
the Taoiseach takes his seat, Micheál. Kilkenny, just to give you a perspective from their camp, they've been a little bit concerned about their scoring power. They've scored 4 goals against Dublin, but failed to raise a green flag against Offaly or Cork. They're hoping for a little bit better luck here against Galway.
Galway beag nach a bharastanish, hús a chur leis an glutha. Hús chur leis a glutha, canis an sa. Úntach is fad chun amánaíochta. Shane Cadigan, bólan clitid. Isteach go dtí Fitzpatrick, fachta go se, fachta go masan éirige, anna chumas, anna sciúil, bhfuilte go glóte in soige go dtí ón gainan agus anna chabáil, isteige go Aidan Ryan. Fitzpatrick, fós agus an Counson I himú.
A little bit of concern immediately from a Galway perspective here that the fullback was so easily beaten, but as we look, wonderful save by Aidan Ryan, and he managed to get to the rebound as well. But Fitzpatrick, first ball, beat Germahan rather easily.
Marsin, Aidan Ryan. Down more ard, Law. Marav, and so a Barca Krokig. Agus Declan Garvey, Derek Caracadi Gownson. Ach an bheartdianta ag Donnacha Cody agus Puxair gnohuige siúd. Lá mór dana ahead an láineh chomá dar nó. Ach sé Richie Power a hócaige Council. Láiste hiaráin agus scréibh na héireann an irig agus mac le Richie Sheenshire. Úr sé fé scór, bhfuilte go maithe agus an chiad faointe ag Richie Power.
Easily their top scorer, Richie Power, with a goal and 21 points coming up to this All-Ireland final.
Slitterson bhfuilte Anna Ada agus Bishitsa ag Damien Kelly bhfuilte ach Ergesh. Marsin, Colm Grant on account of Woolamach. Arish Lord na Poitke. Reached Damien Kelly, Fanna Talon. Wilt to Stachkadas, agus Anna Hansige, Donald Riley. Roche Rochholz, a Lechanish. Wilt and pull the bolt, there's Derek Vior, chance at up at hole. Anna Hall, is tickets on the get Colm Grant, or Irach Angus Callanan.
What a fabulous sequence there. Just beautiful skill. The long ball in towards the corner, an intelligent ball over for Donald Riley. Look at the skill here, taking on Shane Cadigan. And it just looked like it was going to go in by centimetres, tipped off the top of the post. Now watch the goalkeeper here. Brilliant save here, beating out Angus Callanan's shot, and eventually the ball being cleared.
Colm Grant o chláiste bhaide a Mile Owen. Well to mark Dasige. Sara hit níos dishe fós again Niall Coleman a Moholar na Poitke. Pasantva a Yenov ag John Dalton. The Kilkenny. Damien Kelly, Bachta and Saga, Richie Power. Well, Stachka Dassiga, agus Dish score, and so again Kilkenny, agus Quinton Son again, Morris Nolan. Oh, flash the heroine.
This could well be a battle, Micheál, of the respective full forward lines. Morris Nolan and Fitzpatrick look like they have the beating of David Kennedy and Germahan, and down at the other end, Riley, Callanan and Niall Healy look very dangerous for Galway.
Boruk an hochtach Atrasan, Marvi Martira. Ultimach Gadas, Kilkenny Cousin Kuma. Counson, Ramach agus le Gailiv and Counsa. Pikeline, Max Sylvie. Seo taig. Agus le Galway agus sú. Bhuiile an son ag Shane Cadigan nach ní fatach an séad dalamh. Agus deisige Damien Kelly. Galway chur ar an unsaí báta bháin eile. Bhuiiltige isteach láslí go dtí Niall Healy. Niall chur a bhuiile. Agus John Dalton. Bhána go má. Ní fada chuig. John a ríist. Agus Aberdeen seo Niall Healy. Agus puck séir gnóthaithe ag an Niall. Chuir sé 10 pointe sa chluthe le cheannis.
Niall Healy is a very special talent. We saw him in the semi-final here against Tipperary. He scored 10 points. He also came on in the under-21 semi-final in Cusack Park in Ennis and added substantially.
Harle Fergal, deisigan 7 pointe áilt agus 9 pointe ibre héan den Galway Niall Healy. Pointe bháin atra mar sin. Lá brothallach carta tá a barca chrócaig. Beri hanán. Dittar ar a dalamh, dulda Richie Power ach Peter O'Donovan. Bhuiilteisteach ag siúd, táirithe istigh ag John Lee bhainteá. Agus seo Richie Power an isciúil. Go dtí Chad Fitzpatrick ach duine calaí sé Richie. Mar sin, beag pocail ag an moltóir le Niall Callanan.
Niall Callanan from the Craughwell club being spoken to by the referee for that late challenge on Richie Power.
Agus focail ag le taig Linan chomá. Richie Power och ar ag tawic. Kilkenny. Áit anna cháiliúil. Deisige an bhar na bhíadúd a Kilkenny agus bhuiilte haris a trasnáin ag Richie ar na ceann an síú ceann a Kilkenny.
I'll tell you another thing, Micheál, that's going to be a factor today is the heat. It's very warm down on the pitch. Very warm.
Bachta go deas an sanna go Niall Callanan. Sáramánaí bhí sé Lord Portganarig i Galway. Bhuiilte go deas isteach sa chúine an saige go dtí Donald Riley. Donald a dhéad go ceann sanna stúrú isteach a láslí. Agus na bheachtaíoch déanta go dúnach a códaí ar a bheith ceachta tríd san agus a bhuiilte go deas trasna go Pat Hartley. Ach seo Declan Garvey. Bhuiilte go Declan ach róada ar clé.
Declan Garvey here at the end of a move, but certainly down the right wing, Galway seem to be at least in questions.
Ashe Lofos. Machajo Lord na Poitke, agus Alicia's Casul dienta Kienborg. Machle Frankborg. Richie Power, báta bháin eile. Hongarach da Lord na Poitke, agus ón Gainan agus Taiglan Ain istig míle bháide. Bhuiilte go Richie agus anna íarach sád pointe Richie Power. Chief Winte i go Richie go dísa. Go hé Aidan Ryan. Richie Power, báta bháin eile. Op de heen, steach go dtí Chad Fitzpatrick an bhartaí an taobh ag Germahan. Agus Niall Callanan Anishkil, Niall.
Lovely stick work there by Niall Callanan until he was flattened by a frontal charge. Just watch the stick work here now. There's one little flick and he tries to balance it again until the shoulder, or at least the frontal charge, comes in.
Martin, Niall Healy, Ille, Cuisach Gear, Vianach Breen, Sochlohilla Canish, Queen to Gadisa, and Waishan Tarn Count. Begon Berg et Clay. Grant the live edition another Agus Pussant Niall Coleman on the Talloon to Gadasa Agus Talish Dinta and Son Niall Healy Agus Ehin a Hokig and Puck Sale.
Kilkenny are obviously very much aware of the threat posed by these three forwards in the full forward line, because every time the ball comes in, I think the first tendency is to foul. To be a bit of concern for brother Damien Brennan, the manager of Kilkenny.
Dishva and Sahiga Niall, Captain of Forne, Arnold Lido, Wiltiga Niall, Agus, Wiltiga Mahaga, Printed Ivido, get the Nelly. Schneidson and Varnaha Atra. Hanile a hostáilige Colm Grant an Báutasa, Iachana sa Gair Oaklesh, agus Eide Higa Mailish, Shahe, Machleshistach, Alan Healy, Alan the Macafol, Anna Geshig Allen, Aha, on Vachtienta Ed Allen, agus Glanta Machatsuga, Dermot Ryan, Rishana Matachtach Lohinish, Lolaleha Chuil, Peter O'Donovan, Bachtige Peter, Achnila Counson, Wultiga Mahanechrige, Sarah and Soniga, Niall Callanan. Trastan the Porky, Donacha Cody, at the end of Gama, a Machgadi, Pat Hartley, Taxahuni, good Gloche, and some Gadi Morris Nolan, Morris and after Staff, Dishigan, Wultanon Gadi, Chaffetz Patrick, Wultiga Cha, Agus Hanish Trastan, pointed as to get Cha.
Well, the battle around midfield and half-back line seems to be even, but I think this All-Ireland could well be won by the respective full-forward lines and the type of ball and the quantity of ball that goes into them. Here are the two boys combining. Chaffetz Patrick scoring a good point.
On the wall at Soniga, Niall Coleman. That lauded. Donacha Cody, agus Anna Chosanta, Yana Begeda Kilkenny. She Paul, down the Hibwig, Fachtige Cha, and Rolla and Clitted, Gudas, Amachan Sogadi, Alan Healy, Fachtige Allen, Nagas Nasala, noch the Hig Allen, Nachta Shistach, and Pass me Himu, Later Gamahiga Germahan. Agus Anishe, Shal Kilkenny and Ahuid, David Prendergast, Rolla de Nonsi, Agus College Dinta David.
Nice skill here by the Kilkenny men, but obviously you can see the challenge. An illegal one.
Martin Deshiga Ritchie, a Yahoo pointer, a Heimshoe, the Kilkenny. Leaking Bedisa. Gwiltiga Ritchie, agus Gwiltiga Greenige, and Carol Quinton.
Just something to notice, Micheál, that when Ritchie is establishing the shot, he's like on the first tee from my golf lesson. He's setting up the driver, so it's the hurley, this time behind the ball, and then he has this sequence of bending over it. Very unusual.
Matty Murphy, agus Imini, Mariola Shin. Búlta go dtíon de bhile, búlta go deasansan, an na talód, ach sáirithe an lán cholaí, Ger Mahan. Donach a Cody agus córach le cían bort. We have mach harisha de bline agus fudin Shinshade Kilkenny agus Brian Cody so a slí a Yanov istach and so the park chropi ge cut law an a word do shoot Martin DJ Kiri and so agus Shahe Damien Kelly the Ngaile Gutter Edadalov agus the fachta gadasa Declan Garvey agus Kalish and son dienter Niall Kellerman.
And Galway not able to get any movement really here because once they start finding inroads, they're pulled down, they're fouled.
Niall Healy, Niall score, I'm she again, Tossiele on Niall Gafoil, Shahe, Desh again Trio Cown, agus Pointe every tree again Niall Healy.
Three points for Galway, 3 points from frees from this man, Niall Healy. Kenny there, Kenny Larkin all going in, they've arrived underneath us here in the stand.
Look it is first pick. Agus Shahe Richie Power. Will tell her who the Peter O'Donovan. Ach, Yerach Dude Sarahe. Dermot Ryan, but I'm a Harisha Devline.
Kenny just in the dressing rooms now, as you can see.
But the stach again, Michael Fennelly, agus fachta go glóted son again, Morris Nolan, agus Halisha Draston, on the point again, Morris Nolan.
About 3 balls have gone into these two boys, Morris Nolan and Cha Fitzpatrick, and they've scored 3 times.
Kilkenny, Edian of Goma, Gadisa, agus Damien Kelly, I live a hundred and unsee. Sarah Higadas against John Dalton, agus Efevru, Boxayer, and I live. Niall Healy, gosh to his Pasul. Goed beter no marschen is dat gewoon de Eveline. Ille hier het doorheen. Wilt tegen Niall, lagus. Wilt aan de gloedje vaart, aan de feinte tegen Niall. On Caharu count.
Kilkenny being punished every single time for fouling. 4 frees from Niall Healy, 4 points.
Marsin gan atra a chan cholabain agus the stoile met komegen geweter go vlohe we averin ni bevriwede beter go geargemech. Deshansa ag John Lee agus ag Launik Peter O'Donovan in she anavartaich agus a tachta gauded Michael Fennelly with the stachige agus Morris Nolan a chan vartiante ag Ger Mahan. At Hartley, agus Niall Coleman, Jagan Bekele, Schlitter, Pachter, and so, I get Dermot Ryan, down more father, Ishtachen Surgedy, Donald Riley, Ishika Donald, to Gadastige, Niall Healy, Gansiga Niall, Atlish Ishtach, Gansfosig, agus Printer Evan the Cool, again Niall Healy, Cookie in the first Shesik glass of the Hill Ganish, Cookie in Satanala.
As Mihal said, first point from play for Niall Healy, and he had to work very hard. Very strong lad here. Good skill. Nice ball inside, you have to say as well, from Donald Riley, although Healy had to work very hard. Survived the shoulder, balanced well, struck well.
Marsin, gan atarach a dá faointe. Roderick White. Stachanish, Gideon Lontasach, Ingus Callanan, Shohe Ingus, Anamani, Gus Korkushe, Ingus, Hooksair, Gus, Mayari Lehili, Nive Gatarach, Helnavoin.
This time it's David Prendergast from Clara that was fouling, but again, that ball that's going into the full forward line is quick. It's intentional. It's obviously part of the plan. It's in low to Angus Callanan, tries to get away, and immediately they're fouled again.
And White Nile and Sheo Cown. Will take a Nile, August the painter, even a Shea.
6 points for Niall Healy, 5 from frees, 1 from play, and Galway now just 1 point adrift.
Ashen, Neil score again, the Nile, foul. Colin Grant, take us on the edge, Correlish against and again. The Coracatsa, Donald Riley, Nach the Gowdid, Niall Coleman. Rawson Bwittiga, David Prendergast, Erich, Bechorahe, at Hartley, on a Talon, Richie Powell, Bwittiga Dassiga, Istakadi, Michael Fennelly, Goody, Owen Guinan, Get 20, again, Owen.
I don't want to be seen to be repeating myself, Micheál, but again, it's noticeable that it is a corner forward for Kilkenny that's scoring. All 3 full forwards now have scored, and all from play. Morris Nolan, Cha Fitzpatrick, and over here Owen Guinan.
Ashen and Galib Dirk Dollar in Unsi at Schlaun Herafin and Dedic, Shohe Angus Callanan. Angus, and a Skillige Angus, a Markady Niall Callanan. Will take a Nile or Ille and a year after the Lava Clay.
Well, anybody who's been looking for tickets will know how difficult it's been over the last couple of weeks. Almost a capacity crowd even at this stage.
Washed away it by Owen, Colin Grant, August, Eric accounts on the Roll Sonair, John Lee, Schlaun Hebue Gaffach, August, Deshensa, again, Richie Powell, Ahirach Tarahe. Went to no Cha Fitzpatrick, went to get Chad, Sarah Hishtiganson, again, Aidan Ryan. Donald Riley. Will take a gloating Niall Callanan on a scale of Niall Healy, Collish and Niall Healy, and John Dalton.
And as you said, Micheál, what beautiful skill. An overhead pull by Niall Callanan, a feature of that sequence. And again, Kilkenny fouling.
Deshigasho and Shachto Cown, a royal. Sichiedla, maar wees voor ze goed kent Sichiedla, agus goed kent ze tarna lasse glohela kennis. Desig en Shachto Cown a royal hanna heen het zo. Wil take a Nile, agus pointe even de Shach, dan Nile. Gafa kiste goed, maar jaller tussen he elle na Gali, Godisa. Matty Murphy.
What's worrying from a Galway perspective, as you said, Micheál, is the fact that nobody else in the Galway team has scored. Good point.
Agus Law, Malach and Amanichte, Richie Powell, agus John Lee, Kalishik John Lee, Richie.
You just might watch the free-taking sequence here for John Power, for Richie Power, I should say, because he does 2 things. One, he establishes the hurley behind the ball, and then he bends.
For Corlaisha Hur, at Deeren Roderick White, on Ilif, Pashe Edadolov, Gorstehe, Arshin, Shane Roderick. On the Shestach Mar on the East, the Helecanis, Agus Dimmershegama, no Vishestik, the Helecanis, on Shestach, the Hekaru Canish, Dimmershegama.
Beautiful scene down at the Hill 16. That's our camera behind the railway end, and it really is a beautiful picture there, looking in down all the way over, around to Croke Park, majestic theatre of dreams down towards the canal end.
Marsin, daar. Arg na Sjauk, Richie Power. Bwyltig Richie, agus bwyltig Richie, Harris y dras lan, ond pwy yw peinti, ag Richie. Aidan Ryan, bydd blosgol lan oen. Rhaid y sias y chwg yw hot, ach sor hyd y glwtig yn parhaistig i gymryd bers y chwyni, John Dalton. Agus y sbad ymach fi, John Dalton yn Bautasson. Agus y machdys ysdach, Alan Healy, Mark the Dermot, Siohe Alan y machdys gyffwyd. Ond pas, dydych yn mehymwyd o'r mygra. Ro addo ed. Agus yn lwter eithr, caeg ymol tywyd ysdwyd yr ysdach atra. Ach, gwyg y pasan, bydd ofyd un biog pan cyn ed o'r mygra.
It looked like Galway were exposed here, but it was the quality of the pass that let his colleagues down here, and there was a chance Galway immediately recovered.
They're Pettishtach. Agus Palish, no hit, and son, in Bailiff, Damien Kelly. Marsin, and cool boy, they tachtamach, Aidan Ryan. Erge Council Chorvaid. Altoid Royal Hut. Gan the Lehedi Yanaver East. Weilishganach Darno, Achshahe, Aidan Ryan. Dach Engus Callanan. Washen Council Godas, Bultig Engus, Agas Anna Pointig, Engus Callanan.
First man to score on the Galway team outside of Niall Healy, and it's Angus Callanan from the Liam Mellows club in Galway. We're looking at it from the angle camera from the far over side. That's a great point, looking at it from the Cusick stand viewpoint.
Agus bhí sé san an rig, na bhí cardíag, bhí sé gimar leis na peladóirí chomá, be captain na peladóirí. Liana, eile bhí cosint go maithis, bachta hawl ag Niall Callanan. Ungedín daifsa, agus dishin sa hige Cianborg. Ach, an dartian tar Cian. Yes, an aige chéile agus plantage Michael Fennelly. Dach sa chwni, Cha Fitzpatrick. Cha gara leis ystach, siansige Cha, agus a Hans Topeige. Pwynta ele ag Cha Fitzpatrick.
Second point for Cha Fitzpatrick, who has been moved out to right half forward. Getting inside here, good strong hurler. Cha had to work very hard here, get by Ger Mahan and Roderick White. Did well.
Siohe Peter O'Donovan, a chan fartiant Peter, agus a mechtastach Declan Garvey, a machgadi Donald Riley. Siohe Donald, a the Yannick Donald, han Ilana Giri, Neil Hilly. Stach a Lashley, agus Jessica Niall Healy, Wiltiga Niall, agus Colnigan Niall Healy.
They left Niall Healy alone for just a moment, but credit the work here of Donald Riley, who had the ingenuity to hand pass it in. It was not a great ball, but look at the marking here. Suddenly Healy was alone and managed to scramble it past Colm Grant. They were looking for goal here. Bad defending, it must be said, to allow Healy alone. He took his goal well.
On Lasser Savara finish. Richie Power, down the head of Olive. Went to Stachalosh League. Last in the Poitke. And that didn't answer. And after Stachage own Dynan, Chancellor own. Chancellor own, and it's on the hole of own Dynan.
At last this game is coming to life. But what a response. Always a good sign of a team when they concede a score, or indeed particularly a goal, that they can respond almost immediately. 1 extra minute left in this opening half, but already this is heading towards a pulsating climax. Owen Guinan did all the work here. He tried to pass it in when he got into a good position. Ball fell kindly for him here, and he pulled hard. Great goal.
Dagrana happy Kilkenny Shahe Ingus Callanan Athletisch Wiltig Ingus Stachel Ashley Canana Rein Sherach Sarhig Asige Column Grant Wantamachige Column After John Titter the Ngalib Damien Kelly Bevru Pass Wiltige Elehuil Donald Riley Agus Ritrasnansa Ingus Callanan Declan Garvey Dachanish Gideon Vadlaw Portke, Damien Kelly. Damien, Trastan the Portke, Vigingus, Callanan and Council. Achta Gengus, Lagas Engus, a Garlish Stachan, Modi the Gengus. The Hefos, son. Arna den Hashem Heroada. On that Diented. Niall Healy, Tachta Gaudi. Niall the Matlish Stach. Will take a Niall, Gideon Niall Callanan. Oh, what's done again? Niall Callanan. Sarhul.
What a fantastic goal. Brilliantly worked by the Galway attack. Angus Callanan, Niall Healy and Niall Callanan all involved. This was the hard work of Niall Healy, the captain, getting in at the Cusack stand side. The pass inside was a good one. Came to Callanan. What a shot. What a goal. This is the view from inside the net. Unstoppable.
David Kennedy,
Psychologically, that is some response by Galway. As the point I made earlier about a response from Owen Guinan scoring a goal after Niall Healy's goal, Galway responded again in similar manner. At half-time, the last couple of minutes have been breathtaking here in Croke Park, and at half-time it's Galway leading by this scoreline. It has been so close between these teams all the way. But at half-time, it's Galway, 2 goals and 8 points. Kilkenny, 1 goal and 10. We'll be back with analysis from Michael Dignan and Gerlach Nan. Do stay with us. We'll be back after the break.
After the game.
Obviously here today, very much supporting that particular next Friday. Sorry now, Joe, we're talking about the minor game. You're making the point there, just.
Yeah, just making the point that it wasn't the type of game we expected. We expected this very explosive start, but at the same time, the last 10 minutes has made up for the disappointment of the first 20. Terrific goals there towards the end, some very, very good scores and play. Up to that, it was mainly a free-taking contest between Richie Power and Niall Healy. But there are class forwards on both sides here. You know, we said at the start it would be a battle between the 2 forward lines. That's exactly how it is turning out. Defensive weaknesses, but we like to see scores, and we have seen 3 great goals here.
It became a bit of a ding-dong in the goal-scoring front. Niall Healy got a goal first, and then came this goal, a young Owen Guinan for Kilkenny. This was an excellent goal.
Yeah, super goal. You see the ball breaks into him here, and you know at that stage you'd never think there was a goal on. He took the ball, and it's typical Kilkenny, just to give away a goal down the other end, and he would head straight for the goal. Then broke nicely from there, but a great finish. And we talked about the Galway full forward line before the game, but the Kilkenny full forward line has been super. Maurice Nolan is having a blinder in the right corner, scored 2 brilliant points, and Cha Fitzpatrick has 2 points, and Guinan has 1-1. So they've contributed more from play than the Galway full forward line, even though, as we said there, Niall Healy has 1-7 scored, and that's some scoring and a half.
Certainly is.
In the minor final. But as Gerard was saying, the last 10 minutes has been super. I'd say a lot of nerves early on, and I'd say both managers would be saying, cut out the freeze, like this ridiculous freeze, 50, 60 yards from goals, and closed down by 3 or 4 men, and then some lad comes in with a stupid tackle, and that's happened on both sides. So, you know, if we cut that out and keep the ball in play more, I think it'd be a great second half.
Well, just when Kilkenny got the goal, which kind of we thought was a bit of a blow to Galway, then comes the next goal, Gerard Sullivan, which was the Galway goal, and this put them right back on track again.
Well, this put Donald O'Reilly here to the man of the match so far, Niall Healy. A great pass out to Niall Canlan, and he really buries it. Niall Healy is creating absolute havoc here.
Yeah.
He's shown what we all said beforehand, that he's a really class forward. And better still, he's a man for the big occasion. I saw him in the semi-final, in the Under-20 semi-final against Tipperary. He's brave as well as being skillful, and he's always in the right position. I think 2 or 3 different men have tried marking him up to now. He has scored all the frees, and really, if Galway are to win it, he's the man who's going to make the difference today. It's great to see a player touted before the game and then living up to the expectation when the big day comes.
Well, this Kilkenny team were built up before the match. They played very well, in fairness to them, but it's Galway that are edging it, as we said, at half-time. They are leading 2-8 to 110 second half after the break.
agus tús a chur leis a tarna le a harú idir Kilkenny Austin Murphy gimmert yn oed Owen McGrath. Mechter yn o'n si, fan y tefline, Morris Nolan. Mechter eisiau Morris Gaffol. Siwr chos am tywyd i tîm pwl yn eisiau. Aile fyd Eric Cosant. Fagoni. Chad Fitzpatrick. Calais dienta siwd. Agus Puxer. No, Calais dienta Richie Power. Agus ni hech yn onyddi siant onyddi Austin Murphy yn Farahani Cynpoetge yn oed Owen McGrath.
This was a high challenge on Chad Fitzpatrick, no doubt. Had to be afraid. Or rather Austin Murphy, I think it was, yes.
Richie Power, Beg Tamalin, maar dyna dysna tysau gorstau agus Corlais ochr yn synnwyr Morris Nolan. Me Morris, hwygi yn ddefyn ti gwydys ag Richie gus desig yn siw cawn ag aim siw gus yn sgôr o chochr y mw. Morris Nolan o'ch loesdi chi rhain. Bawn yle Eden is tŵsgu ymlaen y gilo. Siahe Richie, yn dod bysau ffwynte, sians gynienig. Richie, agos ffwynte ifyd y sied. Ege hyd.
Sides level again, just at the start of the second half.
Marsin, gan Mogoine atre, a lor na hwydi. Idir co-score. Van y teflin agos Anna Wall sy'n air, ag John Dalton a has na letas a hynnysh, fi siestig sa chwyner dwys, taca hymach agos leis yn syg o'n gainen, siarad o'n yn farachwyd y col, cadw yan eisiau, y rwyl eisiau stach agos pwynt yma ag o'n gainen.
Well, for most of this game, Kilkenny have been in front just by a point or two, and Owen Guinan made sure here, cutting inroads through the heart of the Galway defence. The challenge coming in a little bit late here from Germahan. Still Guinan managed to put it over the bar.
Marsin, Kilkenny, Cosant, Shane Cadigan, Gustach Lashley, Richie Power, Deshiga Richie. Slí gan of the hen, John Lee Corgohige. Ultimach, gyda o'n gainen. Te perig hi adwyd, hasige, gara leis ystach o'n gainen, anna gain sierach. Anna gochor, anna hans y gôn, agos hon, Neil. Pef mi cart yn li'n ton.
Wonderful piece of skill here, but the finish was disappointing. Got inside one defender. Got in through the second, looked like he was going for a goal here, but he went straight into side netting. Goalkeeper, to his credit, Aidan Ryan, had that angle covered.
Marsin, Cian Burke. Gyda'r un y dalof, agos Caheg Ymoltwyr, Ishtacha.
Substitution on the Galway team.
Number 4, David Kennedy, has been replaced by number 25, Kieran Diviny. Kieran Diviny, y tachan poetge, o fehe, yn oed David Kennedy. Thor Henson ag Dermot Ryan, yr ai gyda Niall Coleman, wynt y fan y talwn ag a chyrwys John Dalton, a tac a hymachyd i gli hon, gyda John, Dach Joe na carno ag agos an y hans at ag Chad Fitzpatrick, yr eisiau col ag Chad Fitzpatrick.
Brilliant goal by Chad Fitzpatrick, but the shot there by the goalkeeper, Aidan Ryan, is protesting with his defence because the signals here were terrible. Ger Mahan, the fullback, was involved, so too was the cornerback, and the ball fell straight into the path of Shah Fitzpatrick, and the goalkeeper had no chance.
Donna Cody, Augustin, Kennedy, Austin Murphy, Joe Austin, went to trust the Joe own guy in the gigas, Heiglin Ann, Yerge, and Schlitter the Hossin, Heiga the end of Gama and Bautisa, back the Getaig, on the Tavline, after Count, Sarah Hege Michael Fennelly, there are Yanzi and Michael, Moltoy the Skilish, Michael at the end of Gama, chance to score, August Painting. Michael Fennelly.
5 points now between the teams, but credit Michael Fennelly from Ballyhale Shamrocks with this point. He really had to work very, very hard here to get the chance to hit the slither straight over the bar.
Ashen scored a tastal on 11. Why should about to say Damien Kelly nach der Anna Roher will to get Damien nach Lager.
And this is going to test the character of this Galway side, because Damien Kelly had options available left and right, but there's an amount after Kilkenny have hit them with this thunderstorm at the start of the second half that they have to settle now.
Goed kleintje achter a Lorna Huede. Tistach Austin Murphy, Dian of Gama, Ohana Sheikh and Toitke, Iglahama. Richie Powell, Chansiga Richie, Wiltiga Richie against Quinta Dassiga Richie Powell.
7 points for Richie Powell. This is his first from play. And Kilkenny are rocking and rolling now towards this All-Ireland title with a brilliant start to this second half.
Daar no toss come up when she the new Gamisha that co-score le Corpig. Like Ochkin Diak, the Frevige Ille Eden, Wittig and Dachunte, Nietzsche hard host. The Redala, Vagisha, here the Riley, because Kienborg. After Ruher, John Dalton, the Dergest up, because Maharisha Devline, Agus de Kilkenny and Council.
Cork senior hurling team have arrived just underneath us here in the Hogan stand. There's Frank Murphy, the county secretary, Jim Forbes, the county chairman, all leading out their team here to play in the senior final.
I live at Eric Duller in Unseach, Cousin Twa, Ege, Corpig, Agus Puxair, Long I live, Kalish Dinte, Heiglin Ann.
Players there just getting out their hurleys from the bus. Diarmuid O'Sullivan there and Dr. Conn.
Dermot Ryan, Anna Watson and son again, Michael Fennelly. Ultimach, I guess last year the Alan Healy being Council, Richie Powell. Richie Cow, Moore, father again, Richie, Begon Bill, Edgesh.
Substitution on the Galway team. Number 8, Cian Burke, is being replaced by number 21, Enda Fenton.
Cork coach Donald O'Grady's just gone in there, and then O'Connor has gone in. Some of the Cork players all just going in. John Gardner there with his hurley, going into the dressing rooms. This is a nervous time for these hurlers, as some of them facing their first All-Ireland final, as they go down the tunnel, down to the dressing rooms.
That's right, yeah.
Austin Murphy, Machta Ruher, Austin and Machta Ho, on the Flieskefad, Gurte Egg Austin and son of Kieran Devaney, Agus a Machta Hookig Council.
The referee claims here that Austin Murphy was charging with the ball. I have my doubts about that, and he's claiming that it should be a free the other way. Kieran Devaney, the substitute introduced earlier at corner back for David Kennedy, was the player that faced Austin Murphy, who, by the way, comes into this match scoring a goal and 6 points. There's just the other confirmation of the other substitute, Enda Fenton on for Galway's midfielder Cian Burke. Beautiful day here in Croke Park. Temperatures about 25, 26 degrees. It really is looking magnificent. This is the charge again. Let's just watch this. Austin Murphy coming in with the ball. Yes, you can see he was a bit of an elbow there, and the referee spotted it and said it was a free to Galway.
Austin Murphy, Edadalov. Adianta Gamahage, Ohanishakan Portke, Iglahama. Agase Katkulor. And Ralef, Schlaunachen Dedic, Bauterwarnelle. Well, can you noch the number? Tashat Shefinte and Dedic. Eden Ryan. And they are Hadeve, a Yanach Kuldo, Ni Yeli Kilkenny gebog. Hier beginnen de Rief daar nog. Shahen Niall Healy mas weer de lening en op de andere Shahen. Niall aan de jaren aan de gale stechen. Had hij stemt er Niall. Agus neer fact weig echt cool about the sun. Agus Raigani me Laura Voltoro.
Niall Healy again showing tremendous leadership, strength, but being brought down here following this penetrating run. He's causing problems every time he gets the ball. Now the option will be here obviously to take a point, but he just might go for a goal.
Niall Healy, hele schacht gedisse, ikke heen. Niall agus Counson bulte harische dras nánige, bín telefós.
Just 5 points now between the teams, and Galway certainly needed that point just to settle them, to give them a little bit of self-belief back.
Colm Grant. De Arnold lead the hippie gone, Birgit Gaile weg. Kilkenny gemorgen tussen Alan Healy. Sterk met die Fitzpatrick, en gaan weg die aan het non-willig, Germahan. Norige, John Dalton. Die Michael Pennelly, Wintero en Sonnig, Niall Coleman, a Harisha de Bline.
Substitution on the Galway team. Number 12, Niall Coleman, has been replaced by number 19, Kevin Hines.
Janine Taharuele, Heidi Antonishik Gaile. Schlitter wit, as a good Pavaitui. John Dalton, Stechel Ashley, Starhensaga, Declan Garvey. All the Stadion, I live agus. Is the ball, well, you're not cool on the head of your road. Declan Garvey. Here to get the Hurling in on say. Arakan Hossan Toidiet, Niall Healy, back in the gig. Say, yo, down the head of Dollop. Agus, Nilen on Gale, Hossan Toidiet, Kilkenny. Dacket, macht Horst der Stach. Ach, mal Toidiet, Schlitter Stach hatte. At the Stach again, Finn Cadigan. Arcady Counson, Robert Trasna, Donald Riley. Got Jonah Carno gebeten, Wiltige Donald, Wiltige Donald, a live edition. Winter, well, you're not cool, and I had of it on I live, 9 out of August. And I had of it on Loha, Oma. Is Gaelic Kilkenny. Ungana oorlog lo, maar jeden shit. In de hit de Gaelic, Kevin Hines. Dagen zo, Biddy. Ingus Cannon, Ingus Fevru. Doet Kurrohige. Wordt de gedaste Stechel Ashley, die John Lee. Niall Healy. Niall Lamachtish. Niall. Anna Wille, Anna Gowan, Anna Fint again, Niall Healy.
What a fabulous point. And before that, when he won the possession in a previous incident, his balance is just superb, and it's quite noticeable here again. Look at the style here. Short grip, with power and accuracy. Great point.
Eshte Chafachor, Cormac Gailiv, gan Niall Healy inu. Agus Shahed Declan Garvey, Latarach Jerry Finte. Ido Glow, Donald Riley. Shahed Niall Callanan, Niall Garlish is Stachanish, Connors Yannick Niall. Anna Wola Fachtige, son. Yannick Schlitter Royal Harnash, yes, Fachte again. In a day, one ticket is Anna Finte and son. Anna Finte and son again, Owen Fenton, Don Niall.
Well, we can praise Niall Healy, but praise too for Enda Fenton here, because this was a very difficult point for a man who's just been introduced, and it was sheer hard work that finally got the ball to him. Had the confidence to have a goal from there in front of the Cusack stand. Good score.
Well, ni Lataranish, Achan Hulavain. Charlotte, Nakhilahasa Harpos, John Dalton, Anna Ruher, get John, Anna Hutlakor, Wilte get John Dalton, Ach Wilte, et play. Ashen, Brahan and Ralib, Nafil Shit, Plate of Force. Shahe, Eden Ryan. Declan Garvey, Declan. After in row, ada, like a boy doing, Colin Grant, and Schlitter, Macht Harrison Lean. Nash Damo Foster, no, Gailiv contacted Nash, no, Kilkenny, Control Nisi Hechenki, the Shin, the Schlitter Hanson, Wahim. Mogul hit the Lean Town. Declan Garvey, met Jan Gamale Tamalin, or Ashtre Shemach. Pass, the Niall Callanan, Anna Yasafa, Donald Riley, Francis Donald, Garlish Stach. It could have done with it. And that didn't it. Machat Sogadi, Peter O'Donovan. Well, Pussant, Anna Hochtach, and Counson, the Kilkenny. Agus, oh, Tom Gubit, and Gub Darragh, and Damien Kelly, Mara Stolen, good. Made it go in, well, I kind of the council, after Shatter again, again, Multo, again, Muerte bleeding.
No doubt about it that Donald Riley was also fouled. Should have been a free for Galway earlier.
Ashen Focal again, Multo, Lishamoyer. Agus again, again, Multo. Oh.
You don't see that happening every day of the week. The referee, after consulting with his linesman, he seemed to agree with him initially. Then after the debate and the conversation, went the other way.
Ish, Jürgen Council, Count Hochtach. Achter, again, Roderick White. Agus, Eile, Betachter Ash, Lede Kele, Hemer Kem. Wilte and son, Agus Wilte, Anna Ba and son, Harris and Zasna, and again, Niall Callanan, Robbinte, Shinaba down.
This is a fine comeback by Galway. We talk about character and self-belief, but Galway have fought back after a terrible start to the second half. Niall Callanan scored a great goal before half-time. This is his first point.
Well, we se kind at Holo, Jene, Baba, Harale Vinische, Vedish from Tussig. What on doing? Niall Callanan, Arnashet Sogadi, Damien Kelly, Damien Favreau, and John Dalton. Luther Etergus, Kahagamoltoid, Ishlitter, Ishtachatra.
Nice skill here. Good block down.
Levet Erik, Golden Onsi. Cody, Baradavili, Agus, Puxair, Dunnalit.
Chopped down by the Kilkenny man. Free to Galway.
Niall Healy, in Fargar, will have Galev Bragamore in a way. Maar Heinchen Council, niet de gown, 8-1 awon.
He's already scored a goal and 9 points. This just outside the Kilkenny 65.
Niall Healy, and Schlitter Bultige. Yeah, it's no one holding us on a feint. And here again, Niall Healy.
10 points in the All-Ireland semi-final. A goal and 10 points in the All-Ireland final so far for the Galway captain from Crowell.
Agus in ish, and Lasser Savarach, and feint of on after it. Colm Grant. Al Moore father, Bultige. Edith Olive. Richie Powell. Owen Guinan. Bachtige Owen, nach Lagerich. Zorge Eden Ryan. Eden, down on order fat, Bultige Eden. Bert Hossentoidi. Owen, agus Bachtige John Tennyson. John Tennyson, the Tachtamach, Bullen Titted. Dacha Joe Chaffet's back to Ghana, once and air. Bultige. Ach, heb na live edition. On Closa, edit Hawk on the now, a goni. In the Yelly, at Kilkenny. Alan Healy, Emihe. Ray de Ball, Takahishta. Obey David McCormick, who had Takahishta. David Rahistachanish. Agus Paul. A Ray Wall take a Edibord Coma. Ashin and Lasser Savarach again. Richie Powell, down on the Hochtach, John Lee there against them. Declan Garvey, Richie McLeish, a ball and Clifton, and it's painted on the Hochtach again. Richie Powell, the Kilkenny.
Richie Power has now scored 8 points. 6 of them from frees, 2 from play, but this last point is an indication of his strength and hurling ability. Getting by 2 challenges, putting it onto his left and straight over the crossbar.
John Dalton, Art Hussant, Dinte Igashoot, Agus Bultestach, David Prendergast, David Hivruge, Declan Garvey, David Maclish. Maclish. Railevinish. Oh! Come on, the Machtson higher.
The ash is being broken now. They know there's an All-Ireland at stake and it's fairly passionate.
Arshin, Raneicha Darai in the Royla, Agus Shahuin, Damien Kelly. Raneicha Fwyn Shoige, Stoch over here to Ra, Bultestach Sugadi, Donald Kelly. Over Fevro, Agus and Vartian Tedic, Peter O'Donovan, Peter Atachtamaach. Machat Sugadi, Michael Fennelly, Al Moore father, Ishmarshin a big trailer, Roderick White, a Bert Temple, Roderick, a half-bounded Martin Keane, Roderick Fevro, Dintaga Mahega, Michal Council of Aras, Sarahega David McCormick, Michigan Nile, the Council Lana, Germahan, Niall Healy, Wilshire Sort of Mahni, Wasn't Va again, Dunnacha Cody.
Take your time.
In the sun, meeting the Galway at the Devline. I should slow her off into Derek.
Watch it, Richie, watch it.
She no mati, at a lead, Park of Force. Dunnacha Cody, Hockey Council. Well, Digagas, Pachtiga Glote and Son, they get Ray Wall. Achsarahe, they get Aidan Ryan. Machajo, Lord the Portke. Machta, they get David Prendergast. John Lee. Machkadi, Niall Callanan, and Nimoshe Ruhar Niyanik. What to Gadaskadi, Donald Riley. Donald, I guess Peter O'Donovan. Matsule, Donald, Count Morar, Delana Giragas, Anna Fint to get Donald Riley. And get scored and over again.
We have seen just some fantastic skill here, Micheál, because Donald Riley was literally along the sideline in front of the Cusack stand. What a fabulous point. Look at the quality of the ball as well. Well coached, Niall Callanan feeding Donald Riley, literally just a few metres in, had a go, under pressure, fabulous.
Ashin in Fintivine, Shinnavalatra, Michael Fennelly, Yannick Zarahe, John Dalton. Anna Chlohagen wat ik John, de Stahajo, the Carmag, Zarahe Mahatson, the German. Blanta Mahagadi, Roderick White, Roderick Bevru, Anna Manish Chlohe, Niall Healy, Niha, Achan Tunadi, a Heinige Stacho Yenid, Independent. Dachajo the Carnog, Fachta the Glute, Ishtigetson, I John Tennyson, Arish Lord the Portke, Rit Trasna, Chad Fitzpatrick, Heiglenan, Shahet Hyde, Heide Glanan Clitted, the topic. John Dalton, against Niall Callanan, Lechele, Edadalo. Ashen, Kilkenny, Diana Gama, Lohan the Huele, and Harry, Anna Hossent. Agus Shahir, Roderick White, Roderick, Nishmashin, Ilaunachan, Pointavine, Tura Sheffield, and Pool Boyd, Colin Grant, Higginton Ganson, Clabber, and Rihanna Time of Nahu, Lebeded, Lorga Clitterish, Peter O'Donovan, Acne Rochefagi, Colin Grant, Hane, get after Matt, Niall Healy, Agus Angus Callanan, Bachtiga Niall Agalish there, Callish Dead Niall, and a chance again, and Peter Cosco, the Heim Shoe.
Just 2 points there about that sequence as we watch the replay here and the player being fouled. Niall Callanan did a beautiful rob down in the middle of the pitch, and notice Colin Grant, he was nervous about the new sliotar and the hopping ball. He decided to come out and then went back, judged it right, but then took a little bit too much out of it. Look at the rob here, beautiful skill, right on the stick. Excellent work by Niall Callanan.
Agus Shahid John Dalton.
Well, this is some fight back if they can draw level here by Galway, because they were under siege right at the start of the second half, and once Chad Fitzpatrick got his goal, Galway were down 6 points, but they fought back. This is to level the match with just about 2 minutes to go.
Is Ashe gostehe takahe gehen anelig hier adohin agus ena tegedis dan Ashe hena heniag. Count 480 gedoe, maar Randje Countse, we zien het Cosco. Niall Healy, waar de hak dit, de bal en dit, agus en helemaal live is mee over.
He'll be disappointed. Difficult for Kitog, but remember he has scored a goal and 10 points today. But they need one more to level this game.
Shen, seen on with the pressure, and the hit again Moto. How's staying it? Katan on doing. Derelish force, Nilna. Chad Fitzpatrick, County shall bull to get, Dine Sherrock. Heiglenan, Dungalet, Bevru, one to Mahaget, with the Lord Portkit, Damien Kelly, on the Talon, get to Mahaget Donald Riley, the Donald. Macklish, chance to get Donald, put to get Donald, and it's Hashid and Cosco!
Remember his name, Donald Riley. This is a man of character, under pressure, showed that he's willing to work for the ball. He worked for it here, got possession, got inside the Kilkenny cover, looked around, had a shot, and he levelled this All-Ireland minor final.
Katan on doing, Roderick White, Wintero, Tachta Gowded, Germahan, Bevruger, Wintero, Richie Paul, Heiglenan, Richie, Hongrachten Devline, Wiltestachige. Agus Anigish Ansa again Austin Murphy. Wilte in Hemelagadische in Edinburgh Martin Pasiat Bose in Coastal.
We're into injury time now, Micheál, and as you mentioned a moment ago, we have 3 minutes of additional time. 3 minutes to win the All-Ireland minor title. Kilkenny going for 2 in a row. Galway for their first since 2000.
Noch a heen again Kilkenny Hannah. Hatana Anduin. And Mohik and Heilige Kit can Riam. Kit Mohik can a sheet of Riam and I Kilkenny. No Mohik Kilkenny. And Mohik can a sheet and Eyelid. Don't go you win. You wait and Highland Riam. It Kilkenny get Mohik Canish. A harsh chance in the Shickle. Kevin Hines. Johe Kevin. Dachal Ashley. With the little dollop. John Tennyson. Tachtamach Leshigansa. John Gafford. Wilte. It's a Pombracht on the Blinige. Tachte again in a day. David McCormick. Stachetzer. Gedi Cha Fitzpatrick. Oh, and a skiller for the get Calum Deinsherich. And Emil the Carnoige. Heiglenan. Tachte get high. Count on Hochtach the high. While Callanan, the Weishen Council. Martin Dishige Kilkenny.
Again, some fantastic skill, Micheál. Cha Fitzpatrick, just watch this, just look at this. For sheer stick work and balance, he slipped, skill on the hurley and looked around.
Council Bulte Stachajo, Emil the Carnoige. Machtige Richie Power here at Sarah. Os. With the right down the mouth. Machtige Richie, Chancellor Richie Power. Richie Power, Richie Power, has a death down. Machine, Clarkin Hennig, Peter Fantastic.
Nine points Richie Power has scored.
Nachlas is schlittert aan een wallige German. Jura Tachtemach. Devro, Harris de Devline. En Braher Damien het son, agus Bechan Tannabal Hoyd. Asige, Gwitchiat Peter Fantastic. Dan nog een Cody. Agus gan Falco, ach, let no but Peter Boyne. A hockey Hennig Fantastic. Wilte Elecha. John Dalton het son. Winner of Dal Lechre in ook. Doon de Carnoige. Machtig Cha Fitzpatrick. Shohet Cha. Cha Machtlish. Heiglenan. Machtige Teig. Wilte Machtige Teig. Nish Martin. Nish Noriab den Eilen. Den Eido Glover. Lana. Agus Dollar in Onsei. Damien Kelly. Wynte Tastal on Alif and Koharamo, Kilkenny, Peter Fantastic, Austin Murphy, Count Morar, the Jonah Carnoige, Heiglenan, against Dinted House again, German, Jahedger, Bevru, Machanish, and Chance Dernach, the Island, Bedet, Austin Murphy, Keyogi Council, Bachtige Austin, Wultige Austin. Lanomet de Fashnet Sinomati in a head Heiglenan. Heige Tachtemach. Moltore Fichen to the way and Martin to Kilkenny.
It's the double for Kilkenny. Heartbreak for Galway and for Matty Murphy. But what character Galway have shown. Richie Power, the hero for Kilkenny, and no man deserved to be the hero in the All-Ireland final, scoring the winning point. A tally of 9 points for Richie Power and 216 for Kilkenny. They win by just 1 point after a...
Me, my family, my club, Carrickshaw, to be standing up here and accepting this cup on behalf of a great minor team.
Richie Power, the Kilkenny minor captain, accepting the trophy. They are the All-Ireland champions by 1 point against Galway, 216 to 15 points.
And there's been 5 men that I want to thank for that. Joe Hennessy, Joe Dunphy, Brian Waldron, Tony Marr, and a special mention to brother Damien Brennan. I'd also like to play special mention to Joe Pike. He's been there for the past 10 years. He'd look after us well, and he's never let us down. Thanks, Joe. To Galway, I say my commiserations. They're a great, great team. They showed that there, and I've no doubt they'll have their year. Well done. I'd like to say a special mention to the last cousin of mine, Yvonne O'Mahony, who passed away. And this is for you, Yvonne. And finally, I'd like to give 3 big cheers for a great Galway team. Hip hip, hip hip, hip hip. I'd like to wish the seniors the best of luck next game. Bring home the double.
All right, well, obviously Richie Power wishing his seniors the best of luck in the next game coming up. Yet the first half of the double clocked up here at Croke Park by Kilkenny. Can they win the senior? That's the big question. Richie Power comes from great hurling stock, of course, down in Carrickshock there, Michael Dignan. This game lived up to what we had hoped from it. We were expecting a good minor final. It was every bit of that.
It took a few minutes to settle, we said at half time, but the second half was outstanding. Kilkenny came out like their seniors do, a big spurt at the start of the second half, went 6 points up, and Galway looked dead and buried. And credit to Galway, they got back into them. We were all praying for a draw there at the end. You know, young fellas like that put in so much effort. And Niall Healy there missed the free, and you see him after the game very disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say to Niall, don't worry, he scored 110 in the Ireland minor final. He missed 1 free in the game. It certainly wasn't his fault. He had a blinder, and it's a pity, you know, only one team can win. But Gerard was saying before the game that no Kilkenny players from the team of 10 years ago had made the senior team. You can be sure you'll see some of those lads again. Richie Power, Chaffetz, Patrick, the likes of those super players. John Tennyson. They'll be straight onto the panel next year. And the same with the Galway team. You know, I'm sure the Galway supporters are saying, look at this, we have 2 or 3 class forwards coming through, and it all bodes well for the future. Great hurling there today.
Yeah. Joe, I'm sure you would agree with that.
Well, I think we were afraid after 10 minutes that we'd had built up too much because it started off with a lot of frees, but from about 20 minutes on it opened up into a fantastic game. It exquisite skill on both sides. I suppose this was the decisive moment at the very end with Richie Power blocked down the first time. Now watch his hands here. This was scored by a player with just a slight swing on the ball. Look at to do that in the last minute of an All-Ireland final with the real pressure on you, your sides are level, you're the captain of the team. It's a memory he'll have forever. But many of the things he did during the game, you know, that short swing of the hurley, laying it off to other players. But it wasn't just on Kilkenny's side. It was fantastic play on Galway's side as well.
Sure,
The secret to winning was, in the 3 minutes after half-time, Kilkenny went from 2 points down to 6 points up. That's what won the game. Now, in fairness to Matty, Matty Murphy, the Galway manager, he made a brilliant change. He brought Angus Canlan right back, who was full forward.
Yes.
He brought him right back past midfield in front of his half-back line, and he absolutely cleaned up. And that's what led to the storm back by Galway in the second half. Galway showed terrific character. You know, with character we haven't even seen from their senior team in a long time, to fight back, and were most unlucky in the end not to draw the game.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Of course, Galway is still involved in the under-21 final, so maybe they'll